Hello, everyone. This is Mike Mulroney with this episode of Shirley Talk, and we have Kelly with us as well. Kelly, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
You had a big event this weekend.
I did. Our car show, it was amazing. We had over 260 registered cars.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was expecting about 20 cars, not knowing who's going to show up.
You didn't have faith in me.
No, it has nothing to do with faith. Yeah, we've talked about this. When you have an event, you just never know if somebody's going to show up. But yeah, man, they just kept coming in and coming in. So today we have with the Brown Cancer Center on this episode of Shirley Talk with Miss Laura Jones, and I'm going to call you Dr. Nelson, so you keep saying Megan. Is that okay?
Megan is good.
Megan is all right? That's fine. Okay, we're very informal here, so I'm cool with that. But you all have a new program we were talking about before we started, and you want to talk SOAR On?
Yes, it's SOAR On, so that stands for where strength and opportunities for all are realized in oncology care.
Okay, and that's a new program that you all are taking on the challenge of pushing. So what is that? What's that mean? I don't know what that means.
Sure. So SOAR On really means, and it encompasses this program, which is mind, body, and spirit. So when you go to the cancer center, you're going to get radiation, chemo, surgery, whatever therapies that you may need. And this program includes music therapy, art therapy, sexual health counseling, cancer rehab. So all of those holistic patient services that really help patients and caregivers get through treatment.
Right. So we've talked to several people about some of the things that you just mentioned, and it's amazing. Cancer is so horrible on you physically, but it's mentally draining as well. So is that kind of what that's for, is to kind of help with some of the mental health of a patient?
Oh, absolutely. And, so many of our patients really benefit, especially from those counseling services, art therapy and music therapy. We've just added music therapy actually on in March. So we're so excited to have the University of Louisville Music Therapy Clinic with us. And we've got such a good response from our patients, and they've really enjoyed it and benefited from it. We've even seen research that shows music therapy and art therapy can reduce pain in some patients and certainly improve levels of anxiety and depression. So all of those services really help patients get through that. And you're right, Mike, address that mental component too.
Yeah, I'm probably the old guy in the room right now, and Kelly laughs. She makes fun of how old I am all the time. She'll say, that guy was really old. He was 50-something. I'm thinking things. But being the old guy, years ago, I remember in school, they started bringing music in school, and they started playing it, and there was testing the waters on this stuff to see how music would affect your thinking and your ability to focus a little bit. It was more like white noise in the background, but you could hear it. And I'll never forget that. So is that what the music therapy is, or is it more about giving the patients the ability to express themselves musically and learn how to play an instrument and forget about cancer for a couple hours?
I mean, kind of all of the above.
A little bit of both?
Yeah. So our music therapists can help patients learn how to play instruments. If they, say played an instrument way back when and just kind of want to get back into that as a coping, that's something that they can do. He also does a lot of, playlist therapy. So going over and kind of finding songs that patients may like or that can help kind of reduce some of their anxiety too. All the way to just listening to songs that make you feel good and can kind of reduce some of that anxiety.
So does that include 80s rock?
Yeah.
I guess.
Kelly just bought Motley Crue tickets in Nashville, so I'm a big Kiss fan, so 80s rock. But yeah, I tell you, we have a lot of musicians that have supported Shirley's Way over the years, and they're amazing. And I've always said it, I wanted to learn how to play an instrument, but mentally I can't focus long enough, really. I probably got ADD or ADA on one of those A's. But it's amazing to watch people play. But it's got to be so helpful for a patient to just get that off their mind for a while.
And I think it's good for caregivers too.
So does that include caregivers?
Yeah, and it focuses mostly on the patient, obviously, but they can even take the patient's heartbeat. This is one cool thing that they'll do, is take the patient's heartbeat and create a song to it. So maybe the family has that, if for an unfortunate reason the patient succumbs to cancer, then you have a song to the heartbeat of your loved one. So that's neat too.
That's pretty talented to be able to do that. Musicians are amazing people to watch, and their talent is just unbelievable. So do you already have musicians lined up to help do some of this stuff, or how does that work?
So Chris Milled's our music therapist right now, but we would love to see this really expand and to even have, when COVID stuff dies down a little bit, even have a patient choir at the Brown Cancer Center. So really just incorporate that music piece across the board because like you were saying, it's such a good source of stress relief. And really, this is for anyone. You do not have to have a musical background or a musical bone in your body, and you can still participate.
I doubt that. I don't know that I would do very well.
I don't think I would either.
Can you play anything?
No.
Yeah, I can't either. So what else does the SOAR On cover? So music therapy and
then also art therapy, excuse me, and also massage therapy, and that's one that was really beneficial to so many of our patients.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
That's relaxing. So, so the art therapy, that's really cool. My kids love to draw, and they'll sit and draw and color and do it, and they're older too. Actually, they really enjoy art therapy. So, I guess that's their therapy. So how does that work? Do you have an artist come in and show them how to paint to kind of express how they're feeling? Maybe does that work?
Yeah, so we have a licensed art therapist who works with many of our patients. And again, you do not have to have an artistic bone in your body to participate. And that can be, she does a lot with meditation, with art, with sometimes just even talk therapy while you're doing some art. But a lot of patients may not be quite ready to go into that talk therapy or express themselves in that way. And art is such a good way to be able to do that and to get some of those negative emotions out while also kind of enjoying yourself and being able to process that with someone who's there to listen.
Yeah. It's so horrible, the diagnosis of cancer. So how does this come into play? So, I'm thinking the conversations of someone finding out they have cancer and all the emotions that go through their mind. When is this brought up? Is it you give them a few weeks to absorb that they just been told that they're going to have a journey to go through and beat this? Or is it something you bring up that afternoon? I mean, how is this brought in, and when is a good time for a patient to go through some of this?
Yeah, so we have a team of social workers at the Brown who specialize in whatever clinic they work in. So that's something that's certainly unique, and they kind of get to know the specific needs of those clinics. They meet with all of our new patients on that first visit. And at that first visit, they'll go over the resources that we have. So everything within our resource center downtown, but also within the SOAR On program. And you're right, Mike, that first visit is so overwhelming. You're getting so much information coming at you. So it is a very rare thing for someone to remember everything we tell them and to be able to kind of, I'm signing up for this today. Certainly people do that, but that is not that common. So I would say the majority of our patients actually start to access these resources when things have slowed down a little bit, when treatment maybe has stopped or you were kind of nearing the end of treatment. And then they have some time to kind of process, whoa, what's going on? That was a crazy few months or a crazy year even. And then that's really the time to kind of get into some of these programs. Of course, they're available to patients the moment that they're diagnosed. But we're seeing a lot of those patients really start to come in that survivorship stage.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So, so you said it's available to caregivers as well. We always forget about the caregivers, and we both took care of our moms before they died, and me and my siblings took turns on my dad. But it's very difficult. We've done a few things for caregivers and like give them a day out, and provide them dinner and stuff like that. So caregivers can be included in this as well.
Yes. Yeah. Caregivers have so much stress on their plate, and I think caregivers forget about themselves too, because you put so much energy and effort into taking care of your loved one, and you kind of become selfless. And so it's important for us to also remind the patient and the caregiver, hey, don't forget to take care of yourself. You've got a lot of energy to give, but you also have to have energy for yourself. So some of these resources, yes, is free to the caregivers as well, which is important.
Yeah, you're basically giving up your life for however long to make sure that person's taken care of. And it's very difficult for people that aren't trained or have that empathetic mind to them to take care of somebody. It's very, very difficult. But anyway, it's pretty amazing to come up with these things. So how have you all started doing some of this already? Are you just kicking it off? Do you have the room set up? You have to buy a bunch of musical gear, or how is that working out?
So some of these resources we were offering patients. So for instance, our art therapy, our counseling services, we have a wig room at our downtown location. But with this program, we're really trying to expand it. So like I said, we've added the music therapy, we've had massage therapy, but we're adding sexual health counseling, we're adding educational events. One of the newer programs that we're doing is our comfort items. So for a lot of patients, buying products like Aquaphor or Biotin or just things to kind of help them get through treatment is just so expensive. And I know you all know very, very well the financial toxicity that goes along with the cancer diagnosis. So being able to offer some of those, and you know, again, these aren't huge ticket items, but just helping patients, I don't have to run out to the store or the pharmacy to get these things. So we're offering those, again, no cost to our patients in the resource center as well.
Yeah, it's not very expensive. But when we first started this, we had a lady that she may have been going to the Brown. $6 saved her life. Think about that. She was a poor lady that didn't have a lot, and she needed $6 a day to get to her treatments. And I guess a bus came and picked her up and things like that. But that was going to keep her from getting to her treatment. So you talk about it's fairly inexpensive to most of us. But man, I tell you, to have those items provided in the situation that some of these people are in is priceless. I mean, I can't even imagine, you know, I guess the Aquaphor obviously is for the dry skin and things that people have during the treatments, because it really does a number on the body.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with radiation patients. And and that definitely does add up. I mean, a tube of those, and it's not just Aquaphor, but other creams too. It can be, you know, and if you're using that daily, that can certainly add up.
Right.
Something else that we're really excited about is we've just opened our food pantry in our resource center. So this is to, you know, help patients that are experiencing food insecurity. And you know, so again, so many patients just getting transportation to the grocery store or, you know, being able to have another stop on your way home is just too much. So addressing some of those needs within the cancer center is a huge goal of ours, and being able to do that has been just awesome.
Yeah. So what's your plan? I mean, have you all started working on promoting this new program, and you got some activities that you're working on? You got anything fun coming up this year?
Yeah, we've really just came up with the final imagery. So, I mean, we spent a lot of time coming up with the name SOAR On to make sure that people feel included no matter what gender you are, no matter what cancer you have, no matter what area of town you come from, no matter what the scenario is. We want everybody to feel included. So our name was really important, SOAR On, where all are included. And then the imagery has just recently been solidified. So now we are really starting to push out the marketing. So thank you for this opportunity to share with you all about what SOAR On is and what we can do for patients. So yeah, we've got several upcoming events. One that is near and dear to my heart is called Capturing the Moment. And this is a free photography session for cancer patients where we have partnered with the Waterfront Botanical Gardens. And on October 12th, patients from the Brown Cancer Center can sign up and have a free photo session and leave with a photo print that they can put automatically in a frame. And then a few weeks later, they get all their pictures handed off to them, and they can print them as they wish. So
that's amazing.
Exciting thing.
Yeah. And that's coming up soon?
In October.
Okay.
Yes. And we've done it for 5 years now. So this will be the 5th event. But SOAR On is a big part of that too. It's an important wellness event. It's not about how you look. It's about capturing a moment in your journey that, you know, we take pictures of big events in our life all the time, whether it's newborn child or a wedding or whatever event it may be. But this is an important part in your life journey too. So capturing it in a special way to give you a sense of like, I'm resilient. I can do this. Keep going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The pictures are priceless. I know when Mom passed, we started going through albums, and you'd be surprised at how many pictures we didn't have. So providing those to people that, depending on which way their journey goes, is priceless, because we didn't have. Did you have many pictures?
Yeah, but I mean, I was also.
Yeah, but you grew up with a phone in your hand.
Yeah.
I didn't. We had.
We took pictures a lot.
Have you ever seen an instant camera? You probably don't even know what that is, do you?
Nothing you want.
I'm going to get you on Monday on our 80s thing. Yeah. Yeah. We've been doing this fun thing. So generations, I'm 25 years older. So we've been doing this thing in one of our drawings, generational. So she tries to get me every week and I get her on something. So we'll get you an instant camera. You probably don't even know what it looks like.
No, I know the little ones that people would sit on tables and you just wind it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And you take the little roll or something.
So I bet that photographer's really going to have a tough time. I mean, you said you've been doing that for years, but to deal with the patients and the families has got to be heart-wrenching.
It's a touching day, you know. The same original photographer who started with us 5 years ago, and she donates her time, is still doing it with us today. And now we've added on a few additional photographers, so it's growing. And it's one of those days that everybody just feels touched and loves the day. And it's a happy event in a way too, you know. People are smiling and enjoying themselves, but it's super touching. So
yeah, need to put on a big concert. We like concerts, so that'd be fun. I mean, right along with music therapy, you know. So
that's
that'd
right.
be great.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So what else are y'all planning? Have you got anything else planned to help promote and get this kicked off?
So we've been talking with some of our providers at the Cancer Center, and what we found is, you know, people are always running around, they're doing their own thing. And so a new program like this, we really need to start off with making sure our own staff know about it and can tell patients, because again, we tell patients that first visit and try to, you know, follow up with them, but you get so many pamphlets coming at you, brochures, it's hard to kind of keep track of all of that. So making sure all of our staff know about this and know that it's free for patients too, I think it's helpful, because, you know, again, like we talked about, for so many people, well, how am I going to be able to afford that? Or that's just one more thing on the list. So if that's something you can get for free after treatment or before, or while you're waiting on your loved one, then people are more likely to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what else you've got? You all both have lists of paper sitting there. So what is it that, I mean, other holistic stuff that you all do? Is there anything else that would really help a patient? Again, I watched a video the other day, and it's this rapper, and he did this song, and you could see this young girl and their family sitting there joking, having a good time, just really enjoying the moment, and in walks a doctor, and all their faces just kind of drooped. And I'll never forget that, but it's all built into a song. He basically rapped and created this song based on a person's journey after they found out they had cancer. But it was interesting how he tied music into that whole scenario. So being able to do that, they're just pretty talented people. So did you say you are working with some musicians in town, or is it mostly music teacher type people?
Yeah,
or?
so it's a music therapist is who's doing it right now with us. And
Is there many of those in town?
You know, I am not even sure about that. I think it's a growing field, and I hate to say I did not know enough about it when we first started working together, but I have since learned. And again, it's so much more than just teaching someone how to play an instrument. It really is processing through those emotions and listening to music. And I think, you know, the impact of music, I know you both are very musical, and so you kind of understand that, but has such a profound effect on people. And say if you and your loved one shared a song, or maybe that was your first dance at your wedding, or something that you and, you know, a parent just love to listen to or play in the car, and then being able to listen to that in a therapeutic setting or just kind of process through that can be really impactful.
Yeah.
And we have a music therapist in the inpatient side too. So this outpatient music therapy is really new and upcoming. There's an inpatient music therapist who we've gotten to go dedicate some time on the bone marrow transplant unit. Those patients are on the unit for sometimes weeks at a time, and they can't leave, you know, the unit because they're immunosuppressed. They don't have good ability to fight an infection, essentially. So just bringing some music to the hospital is nice too. So yeah, and in addition to music, we also, under our SOAR On umbrella, we have dietitians, which I know you met Sam a few weeks ago. So she's part of the SOAR On advisory committee too. Like, how can we push things forward? And that's how the food pantry came to fruition, is through our dietitians who work closely with patients who you need more calories to fight cancer a lot of times.
So is that where the dietitian comes in, is to make sure you're getting enough calories, or is it providing them foods that might potentially help with the cancer treatments at all? Is that
all of the above?
All of the above. So pizza is good or bad, or is it's a lot of calories?
Exactly. if you are thin and frail and pizza is the only thing that sounds good to you, then that may be the right thing for you at that time.
Right.
Of course, healthy diet we know is important for cancer prevention and prevention of cancer recurrence, but there are certain times and scenarios when you just need calories and you got to figure out how to get them in.
Yeah, I'm all about the calories. Yeah, it's crazy how much weight. A friend of ours is fighting now, and he was my size, and he's down to about 110 pounds right now. And they're trying to keep all kinds of food in him. It's just when you're going through the treatment, you're sick for one, so nothing really stays down. So I'm sure that's an art to try and make sure that people are getting the proper calories that will stick with them.
Mm-hmm.
And our dietitians do a fabulous job, too, of helping patients access some of those Ensure Boost or tube feeding supplies that can be, again, so expensive.
I was going to talk about Ensure. That's insane.
Yeah, it's so expensive, especially if that's what you have to have multiple times a day. And they, again, are fabulous at getting funding for that, stocking our food pantry with that. And, again, our patients can grab that on the way out, and it's one less stop, and also kind of helps offset some of that financial cost of it, too.
Do you remember recently the patient we had come in, and they were trying to do a fundraiser to buy Ensure? And I thought, that's crazy. How expensive can that be? But that stuff's ridiculous.
It is.
You talk about the simple things and the lotions and how inexpensive it really is. That stuff's outrageous. But I tell you, if you're really trying to keep calories on, you can buy Mountain Dew cheaper than you can buy a healthy drink like Ensure that's probably going to put some calories on you and help save your life. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
We raised some money and bought them several cases of Ensure, and it's crazy how expensive that stuff is.
And Raymond Lloyd, who is the guy who gave money for the initial resource center for Brown Cancer Center, and whose last name and his family's last name, Lloyd, is on our wellness program title, he had a passion for serving those patients who didn't have the money to get adequate food or didn't have the money to get to and from the cancer center just to get cancer treatment. He was a cancer patient. His wife was a cancer patient. His daughter, unfortunately, passed away from cancer. So he had a true passion about getting to your cancer treatments and having some sense of wellness around that experience. And that's what the Brown Cancer does in honor of not only Raymond Lloyd, but so many cancer patients. Is we're there to treat the cancer, but we're also there to treat the whole person. And that's what the wellness program is all about, is you're more than the cancer. You're a whole being. You've got the mind, body, and spirit, and we need to treat it all.
Is it typically patients that are there for long, extended periods of time that go through these, or do people come in for their treatments, go home, and then come back for these extra services?
I would say both. And, we're talking about transplant patients, and that's where...
They can't leave, yeah.
Right. And so you may be from, Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, but you're in Louisville, and you have to stay up here for up to 3, sometimes 4 months. So, having something to do or something that's enjoyable and in a new city and a new place is so important. And so that's part of it, too.
Yeah. When we first started this, we were hearing stories of kids that were in the hospital by themselves. I don't know, do y'all deal with kids much, or it's mostly adults?
Mostly adults. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But anyway, it was told that there's kids in the hospital fighting cancer, and often they're there by themselves. And I thought, gosh, that is absolutely horrible. Who in the world would leave their kid? Well, a lot of times it's people that are around these surrounding counties that are a couple hours away that have to go to work, and they can't be there, and they want to be there. So if you think about it, these kids are sitting there fighting cancer, sick. Most kids, I'm a dad, but most kids want their mom, and their mom can't be there. I mean, the angels that you all have working at these places to help take care of these kids is unbelievable. So I see you have to provide them something that keeps their mind busy for the time that they're there.
And that's the important thing, too, about these services being free, is there's so much financial hardship. parents of kids or loved ones of adults, in our scenario, when we're in the adult oncology arena, is the family has to keep the paycheck coming in. So if we can offload some of those costs through our SOAR On program, that's exactly what we're going to do, and fundraise on the side so we can bring it directly to you in the cancer center.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Just to give them something to do is got to be horrible. I can't imagine sitting in a bed that long as a little person, and not have a family member or somebody around, or an adult that they can't have people come in because their immune system is so low.
And speaking of immune system, a lot of these wellness services, there's a lot of research supporting that these additional services help enhance the immune system too. So more and more research over time is going to show how these wellness services help not just allay stress, which we know that automatically art and massage and all these things make us feel better, but it's deeper than that. It's immune system effects too.
Really? How is that? How does that work? Do you know?
This is where
you're a doctor, by the way, right? Are you
I'm a doctor, but that's where some really smart scientists come into play.
So is it levels in the brain, I guess, or
I think
something in the brain is provoked when music and art and things?
Absolutely. I think the mind and body are intertwined, right? And if you reduce stress, you can have a reduction in inflammatory response, which high inflammatory status can contribute to cancer. And
it magnifies it.
It can do that, and it can cause recurrence. There's a direct correlation there. So if we can reduce stressors, hopefully we're helping with their cancer directly, and hopefully we're also ensuring that they can get to their cancer treatments. So we know if we're treating the patient completely, they're more apt to be able to get to the cancer center. They're more apt to feel less stressed, and going to the cancer center, obviously that's a stressful scenario, but if they feel supported there, that ability to continue coming is improved too.
Yeah, because knowing what's about ready to happen to you has got to be stressful enough. To just get out of bed and go in knowing you're going to be stuck, knowing you're going to be sick, knowing the medicine's going to be running through your body. It's horrible.
I remember taking my mom, and she would make me go home so I didn't have to sit there for 8 hours a day with her. Yeah. So at that point, I felt like she was my kid, and I didn't want to leave her, but she'd sit there with her little iPad and get her treatment, and I'd go back and pick her up.
So do they do some of this stuff while they're sitting there having their treatments to just kind of give them something to do for the 8 hours or however long they're sitting for their treatments?
So we used to do this all the time, where we'd have our massage therapist go up to the infusion area and be able to do hand and feet massages while people were getting treatment, or even our art therapists, while patients were getting treatment, the caregivers, kind of like you were talking about, where you're just sitting there and being able to do some work with her. With COVID, that changed things a little bit, but as things are opening back up and people are getting vaccinated, we're hoping to be able to incorporate more of those services while patients are getting treatment. And again, those are long days, so having someone there to kind of help offset some of the boredom of all of that can be so helpful. Yep.
We all whine about COVID, and I'm personally sick and tired of COVID, but we don't think of the other things like this that it impacts.
Yeah.
Because not only you couldn't help entertain people, I guess you could say, and keep their mind off of their treatments while they're having them, but even visitors weren't allowed to go into hospitals and visit their loved ones. I'm just so sick of the word COVID. I'll be glad when we don't have to mention that name anymore.
Me too. And I think you've got this, where patients who are already immunosuppressed, this is an extra worry for them too, where I'm worried about contracting COVID. Is that going to complicate my treatment course? What's going to happen? So it's been an extremely stressful year, and going through a cancer diagnosis is certainly not normal, and doing it in a pandemic is definitely not normal. So I
said that earlier, earlier in the year, that was the silver lining with my mom passing away, was that she didn't have to worry about any of this, because her anxiety, all of that would have been terrible, and she probably, would have been stuck in the house, for a year. So
one of the silver linings, that kind of talking about that, is doing some of this stuff virtual, and it's not the same, but we're currently offering our music therapy and our art therapy virtually, and counseling services as well. So, for patients who do have transportation issues, or maybe just aren't feeling well enough to get out of the house. Some days they're not coming in for treatment, or that live maybe 4 hours away but still want to access some of these services. We're able to do that virtually. So that has been a plus, and I hope that will stay with us even beyond pandemic times, and just kind of increase accessibility for people.
Yeah, of as bad as the word is, I'm sick of it. COVID, it's probably really forced people to use technology a little more, and access things like this remotely. Whereas if they're obviously we're in Louisville, but if they're in Western Kentucky or Bowling Green or wherever the patient's coming from, it gives them the opportunity, like you said, to participate in something that'll keep their mind off the disease for a while, which is hopefully something that'll carry on. Yeah. Did you already have all that stuff set up when COVID hit technically, or did you all have to go through and set all that stuff up?
No, we kind of, it's something we've been wanting to do for a while. And, it's just without the impetus there, it was kind of like, oh, well, we'll get to it eventually. And then when COVID hit, it was like, well, we're doing this. So I think it was a learning curve for everybody. And I know even with me still, some of the technology stuff is still a learning curve. So for a lot of our patients, certainly we're figuring it out together. And I think that's something too, as providers are also going through this for the first time. So a lot of us, dealing with cancer patients and in that anxiety piece, everyone's dealing with that at the same time, and so that's been something that's very unique, but I think it's also bringing people together. It's something we can all talk about. Like this is a stress for everybody.
I think COVID taught everyone that you need to be creative. I mean, that's what we said. We were like, what were we going to do to raise money? I mean, we shut our doors for 2 months, I think, and then put our thinking caps on and went virtual with everything. So
yeah, it's forced us to use technology. My day job, if you may not know this, is I'm in IT at a local distributor or distillery here, and we had all this stuff in place. Yeah. And for years, they've been trying to talk people into stop traveling all the time, save that travel cost, and use digital tools like the virtual meetings and things. And this forced everybody to use it, and companies are realizing that, man, there's some value there versus traveling all the time and spending all that money on expense cost. And to be able to provide people who are sick the ability to still participate, it's probably saved them a lot of time too. They wouldn't have to drive on campus and money and gas and things like that. So, absolutely. Yeah. So you're a doctor. Are you a surgeon? Are you a psychologist? Are you a psychiatrist? Or
none of the above?
Okay.
I'm a rehab physician.
Okay.
It's actually physiatrist.
So this is right up along your lines then, as far as rehab.
Correct. So rehab really is under the SOAR ON umbrella too, because it's all about wellness for a patient. And rehab can stem from day one of diagnosis throughout the cancer journey. There's a lot of research now looking at even prehabilitation, because the stronger you are going into treatment, usually the better you do. And then obviously we know these treatments, whether it's chemo, radiation, surgery, it's hard on the body. It can knock patients down a few notches. And so having medical experts who know rehab that's dedicated to cancer patients is important. So there are physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, myself as a rehab physician who have specialized training in just cancer patients, because they have unique issues related to the treatment and related to where the cancer is located. So medical experts who provide cancer rehab to try to support the patients, like I said, from day one of diagnosis.
Yeah, but when I think of rehab historically, I'm thinking physical rehab. But this is a total different realm of rehab for people, to help them out mentally, I guess.
Yeah, so you've got, as you said, most of us think of physical ailments,
all the time.
right?
I never thought of this.
But then you have, I know you all did the head and neck cancer podcast recently. You have swallow or speech difficulties because of maybe a head and neck cancer, or maybe you have a brain tumor, so you have some cognitive impairments, or cancer that unfortunately spreads to the brain, that you have cognitive issues. So there's cognitive rehab as well. So rehab has to be specialized and individualized to the patient based upon diagnosis and treatments.
Yeah, that's a whole different realm that most people never even think of. When they were in here talking about that, the doctor talked about the cancer that had moved into one of the patient's jaws, and they basically had to take that whole side of their face off. I can't imagine not only physical rehab, but the mental rehab it took to get that patient to where they're probably comfortable going out in public. Because it's a drastic change. I don't care what anybody says. We're all a little bit vain. And when we walk out, well, not me as much. I usually wear a ball cap everywhere I go. But, most people want to walk out and have their makeup done in their head, especially for a woman. I just can't imagine what rehab it took mentally to get that person comfortable to walk outside again.
Yeah, body image is a big issue for a lot of types of
Sadly,
cancer.
it is. But, it really is.
And what's nice about the Resource Center as well, we have head scarves or head coverings and wigs that are free for patients too. And, maybe that gives them just an extra feeling and confidence as they leave their house, or maybe it's extra cold, it's winter, and that head covering really is important. Those extra little touches to help improve their sense of self.
Yeah. We had a shaving party for my mom. She started losing her hair, so we got all her Bunko girls together, and we all sat there and shaved her head, and then we went down to the Lloyd Resource Center and got her a wig. So
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, she loved it.
But that's pretty emotional for especially a woman.
Well, that's what she said. I mean, my mom, she wasn't really big on, her image, but she was 55 years old and had that hair her whole life, so it was emotional.
Yeah, for a guy like me, mine's naturally falling out anyway, so it's a little different. But for a woman, I mean, it's just, I would say in 99.9%, their hair is so personal to them. I watched a video the other day, something Judy's Journey or something. I was in this. It was absolutely heart-wrenching to watch them shave her head. I mean, do y'all have them do that for patients in the hospital and just comfort them some way? I guess obviously this is probably falls into that, but it's so emotional to see that being done to these women. It's, again, most guys, well, I don't want to lose the hair I got, but for a woman, it's got to be so much more horrible to do that.
And I've spoken with patients, men and women, who, and I don't think it's necessarily a vain thing, but just anytime your body changes that much and it's something that's out of your control, right? And so no one consents to your hair falling out, or for, to have a mastectomy and you don't have your breasts anymore, or, you have a major surgery, a head and neck surgery that really alters your appearance. And, people do it because you've got to do it. People are so resilient, but at the same time, that's certainly a side effect, and it's equally, as important for people. And so, having that team approach, I think, so you're working with maybe speech and Dr. Nelson and strengthening in other ways. Having that psychological support is also helpful, and also having that outlet where, maybe, you can just listen to some music and you don't have to think about it if you don't want to for a little bit. But all of that it kind of plays into that, again, holistic care for the patient and making sure that patients do have that team approach, because no one person's going to be able to tackle all of that, and nor should they be able to, right?
Yeah, you was talking about a mastectomy. We did a podcast. Kelly and I looked up a bunch of stuff on what to say and what not to say to someone who has cancer. And I'd love to get a doctor's perspective or a patient or an advocate's perspective on that one day. But, some women are okay with having their breasts removed, but most aren't, because, one, it's something that's personal, and obviously it's a part of them that will never come back. But it amazes me how many people say, "Oh, don't worry about it, you'll get a new pair," and think it's okay to say something like that. The mental drain of losing a part of your body. We were talking about the hair, but it's just absolutely horrible for a person to go through that. But people don't think when they say stuff like that. They think, "Oh, it'll make them feel better and make them laugh," when actually it's really hurtful to most people. And if the woman says that, that's different. That's okay, because she went into that and said it first and tried to make light of it. But the mental drain of having that removed has got to be horrible for these people.
And, I've heard patients that have said, I've got family members that say, oh, that's a good cancer, or you have a low stage cancer, and there's no such thing as a good cancer, and so, or prostate patients where, at least it's just prostate cancer, and it's never just a cancer, right? And so I think sometimes people don't know quite what to say, so they're kind of jumping to something that's making them feel maybe a little bit less awkward, but kind of like what you were saying, kind of letting the patient take the lead on that and talking about it in the way they want to, or maybe not talking about it too, because they may not want to talk about it. And I think it's okay as a an advocate or a caregiver or a friend to say, I don't know what to say, but this is awful and I'm here with you. And sometimes that's enough, and not have to kind of jump in there and say
Yeah, we
something
talked
else.
about a few of the things you just mentioned, and we said, don't embarrass yourself and say something that could be hurtful. Just sit and hold their hand and let them talk, or watch a TV show. My mom loved Walker, Texas Ranger, and I hate that show now because we watched it 6 hours a day. They run those marathons of it, and it's on all the time. Anyway, we sat there and watched it the whole time because that's what she wanted to do, and mentally that was her thing, to try and get her mind off of it for a little while. But it's crazy the things that people say. They think they're being helpful, and it's really hurtful. But again, they're not being hurtful. They just don't know what to say because it's such a difficult topic. Because, go in and talk about when you were kids growing up and playing, sports or whatever, or being musicians. But anyway, it's pretty incredible what y'all are doing with this new program.
And it's nice it's there too, even after like treatment stops. That's a hard time too. Our wellness services don't stop when your last day of radiation is or your last day of chemo. After the treatment's over, you have fewer visits maybe to the cancer center, and that creates its own anxiety.
Well, and people disappear too. Oh, they're cured, they're fine. We don't have to keep going and seeing them all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And that those years of surveillance, just watching and waiting and hoping it doesn't come back, are anxiety provoking and super stressful. So our wellness services are to decrease that stress in those times too.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. We've talked about the PTSD of cancer because when you survive, you've got, 1, the fear of it coming back, 2, all the damage that the treatments have done to your body, and 3, if you were next to someone that didn't make it, you've got some survivor's guilt. So, how long after someone goes through treatments are they allowed to come in and participate in the program? Is it a 13 months was a magical number for some reason.
Phosphorus, yeah.
Because it hits all the birthdays and the holidays and all that stuff. So is there a certain time that they're not able to come back anymore, or is this kind of a lifetime thing if they've been a cancer patient?
So our services are available for up to 12 months from the end of the treatment. Of course,
when they ring the bell, do y'all do a bell ring or whatever?
We do, and there's some kind of mixed. I've heard mixed responses from that as well.
Some people like it, some people don't. Just whatever they want to do.
Right. But if someone experiences a recurrence, or they progress in some way, or maybe even their treatment changes, then they're able to, that starts to clock all over for them too. So we want to make sure that these services are available for people, again, as they're going through this for however long that is. So we have patients who go through treatment for years and years and years. And even sometimes patients who, say you finished radiation, you may still be on an oral treatment for the rest of your life. And so those patients are eligible for all of our services. But for those patients who have curative intent and have completed treatment, they still are eligible for all of these services at no cost for up to 12 months.
Okay. So was this your all's brainchild, or was this something that the hospital wanted to do and you all just got picked to run with it?
It was all of the above, really. We had institutional support, knowing that our wellness services, we had them, but we needed to grow them. And so institutional support saying, hey, at the Brown Cancer Center, let's do more. And then Laura and I essentially both said, hey, we want to be a part of this. This is something that we have passion for, and can we do it together? And so we're super thrilled to be working together on this.
Yeah, that's good that they listened to you. Most organizations would just say, we'll get to it one day. But it's good that they're giving you the opportunity to put this together. Because you were doing something totally different, right?
Yeah, I'm a social worker, and still doing some of that work now, and I'm still doing some counseling services with patients, which is nice to be able to hold on to that clinical piece. And Dr. Nelson still has got a full caseload and is doing all of her work as well. So, we're still maintaining that clinical piece while doing some program development. And again, this is still kind of in its infancy. We really want to see it grow, and U of L's acquired quite a few of the Kentucky One facilities in the Louisville area. And when that happened, we've got oncology patients across the city, and we've got patients that we didn't know about or that we weren't capturing before. So we want to make sure all of those patients know about these services, know that they're free for them, and that they're accessible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's amazing. If there's anything we can do to help out, we'll be glad to do it. I don't know what it would be, but...
well, and you all already, I mean, we've got the Joker's Wild going on, so that's a huge support, and we are so happy to be able to partner with you, just because Shirley's Way has done so much for so many of our patients, and I think I've told you this before, Mike, but really has been the difference between life and death for some patients.
Yeah.
And so we're, when you came to me with that offer, I was like, absolutely, no questions asked. We would love to partner with you because, you're such a great organization. And if we have got a very similar mission, and if we can get together and move that forward, let's do it.
Yeah, I got something else in my head too. I'll throw it at you off the air. But anything we can do. Well, like I said, we love concerts. We got a lot of music friends, and maybe we could do something like that one day. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, we admire what you all do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. It's something that both of us dealt with. We got similar stories, and it's just heart-wrenching to see people go through what they do.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, thanks for coming in today. And if there's anything we can do, like I said, we'd be glad to do it. Love to have you back in and talk about the progress as you go and how it's truly affecting people. I think it's going to be huge. So.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, Kelly, how do people help Shirley's Way? I had to get that out. I got stuttered there for a minute.
For that. Well, 2021.
Did you put bourbon in my cup?
I did not. It's just now noon.
5 o'clock somewhere.
No, 2021, we are pushing really hard for $1,010 monthly donors a month.
We had a little bit of spike yesterday, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you all do the math. That is $120,000 a year. So that could help out a lot of people in our communities. You can go to shirleysway.org, click on the donate button. It's very simple, I would say. And then check out our gaming. We have queenofheartslive.org, jokerswildlive.org, and wheelofcashlive.org. So lots of split the pot drawings on there, lots of ways that you all can win money and also support Shirley's Way. So,
all right. Thanks again. We appreciate you all.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.